Well, hello everyone and welcome to RaceWeek. And today I am going to be discussing the shock news that came out this morning that Honda will be pulling out of Formula One at the end of 2021 after 7 years of returning as an engine supplier. Now, before I go into the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to RaceWeek for more content, and be sure to check out the new RaceWeek website at raceweekblog.com for more RaceWeek content. So, now it is time to discuss the massive news. Honda, completely out of nowhere, although apparently there were talks behind the scenes previously, so this hasn't come too much of a shock to Red Bull or AlphaTauri, who they supply. But this morning we had news that Honda are pulling out of Formula One after 7 seasons back in the sport in the hybrid era. Now, of course, this has massive ramifications. Firstly, this is not good news for Formula One because these new hybrid regulations were supposed to attract new manufacturers to the sport, and Honda is the only one new manufacturer that it has attracted since the new regulations, and now they are about to pull out of the sport. They're pulling out at the end of 2021, so they still have 1 more year, and they are actually making a new engine next year in the hope that they can end their time in Formula One on a high. But don't forget, this is not the first sudden pullout of F1 from Honda. In 2008, remember, completely out of the blue, they announced that they were pulling out of Formula One for the 2009 season, despite having high hopes for the season. And apparently the economic conditions are different, but it's the second time where economic conditions, although apparently COVID has no impact on this, but this is the second time where economic conditions have led to Honda pulling out of Formula One. And it's also bad news for their staff as well, because they had a goal to eventually produce a championship-winning engine. Now, being realistic, I have to say it's unlikely that with the same cars that they are going to topple Mercedes next year. So there will be a lot of disappointed Honda personnel. But now it is time to talk about what this means. So firstly, we need to talk about the ramifications for Red Bull. What does this mean for Red Bull? Now, I am going to go into all of their potential options going forward. But this is really not what they needed. 2022, the new regulations they were saying was supposed to be the year that they are going to fight for the title, that they are going to be fully ready to fight for a title. But now they're going to have to scramble to get a new engine supplier, and it's going to be a learning year for them. That's going to really put them on the back foot for probably a lot of that era, whilst the likes of Mercedes and Ferrari will be able to go in with full-on knowledge of how fully prepared for this entire regulation cycle. Red Bull have to spend these first couple of years learning, and that is not going to be ideal for them in the slightest. And secondly, there are other ramifications. I'm going to talk about the ramifications about the drivers, some of the drivers going forward, but there are also other ramifications down the ladder. Yuki Tsunoda, a driver that's Honda supported, how is that going to affect him? To be honest with Yuki, I think he should be fine. I think even without the Honda backing, he would be the favourite to get an AlphaTauri seat for next year, considering that he is now in 3rd place in the Formula 2 standings on pure merit, and he has performed well. But now I have to talk about what options do Red Bull have. And the first option for Red Bull and AlphaTauri is the switch back to Renault power. Now, Renault will probably be obliged to supply Red Bull and AlphaTauri with engines, because now the rules state that all engine manufacturers have an obligation to supply power units to teams that are in need. And as Renault will at the moment have the least teams, it will probably be them that will have to cough up and supply Red Bull and AlphaTauri. But Red Bull and Renault have had a very on and off relationship in the past. A lot of tensions between the two parties. And when Red Bull split from Renault in 2018, Renault were not that happy about it. And I think Renault would be willing to supply Red Bull, but I think it's more the other way round. I mean, of course, if it's them or nothing, then they'd have to take it. But I just do not think that that is going to be ideal for Red Bull in the slightest, to have to go back to a partnership that did not work in the past. And it's just not going to... I don't think they're going to like the sound of that. But by the sound of things, it may be possible that they might simply not have a choice, because that might simply be their only option. And also, I don't think that's going to please their drivers as well, considering how many times that Max Verstappen has criticised the Renault power unit, for example. But that is their fallback option, which will enable that they should be able to compete. And you have to remember, the Renault engine has improved a lot since, but we have to wait and see. I don't really think that Red Bull will like the idea of that. The second option, which I think is a lot less likely, is that they try to strike a deal with Ferrari or Mercedes. Now, on paper, that sounds good, but how are they going to persuade Mercedes or Ferrari to supply an engine to a rival team, a direct competitor, that they've rejected them in the past? In, for example, 2015, when Red Bull were looking for an alternative to Renault, they did not have an engine, and they were rejected by Mercedes and Ferrari. And of course, Ferrari could supply AlphaTauri, considering the fact that they are both Italian teams and they've supplied them in the past. But I'm pretty sure they'll probably want the same power unit in both cars, both the Red Bull and the AlphaTauri. And of course, it's just inconceivable that Mercedes or Ferrari would supply a direct rival team with engines. And the final option I have to talk about is build their own engine. Now, that has been mooted in the past for Red Bull. For example, I mentioned that whole 2015 situation when they were lacking an engine. There was a lot of talk that they could potentially build their own engines for 2016. They eventually went back to Renault, but we can't rule that out. And of course, one thing that we do have to bear in mind is the cost cap will probably make it very tricky for a new engine supplier during this current generation of rules. But a potential option is that they could possibly buy Honda's engine assets and maybe get a few engineers on board to do the engine developments and to improve it. Maybe with a little bit of assistance from Honda at first. This is not actually unfamiliar territory for Honda, because obviously that's how the Brawn GP model worked. They took over bought the Honda team assets, got some assistance from Honda in the first year, which enabled them to be competitive. And this is a team that has really good financial resources. So if they have talented engineers on that team, and they have been in contact with, I believe that they have been in contact with a few engine people that have worked on engines in the past. So this could possibly be an option for them. But it has to be said, this is not an ideal situation for Red Bull. And one question that a lot of people are now asking is, what about Max Verstappen? The picture hasn't come up as it should have, but might he be inclined to leave the team? Because if they can't assure him of a competitive power unit, then I believe that there is a clause in his contract, and that contract was signed with the expectation that Honda was going to be with them for the long term. And if they can't find assurance if they can't assure Max that they will have a competitive engine in 2022, could he possibly look elsewhere? That is something that Red Bull have to bear in mind, because this could end up being a disaster. Not only could they potentially lose their engine supplier, but they also could lose their star driver in this. And of course, if Max does decide to leave, there will be a lot of teams that will be fighting to have him, considering how good he is in a Formula 1 car. So, for example, because of course, to be honest, Lewis Hamilton's probably nearing the end of his career in Formula 1. And if a seat opens up at Mercedes, and Max Verstappen is on the market, then that could end up being a no-brainer for Mercedes to pick Max Verstappen. So that has to be you have to bear this in mind, that there are rumours, and I mentioned there are rumours that his contract has a clause in, if they can't assure him of a good power unit, then he could leave. He could be released from his contract. And I'm pretty sure when he signed that contract, he was expecting Honda to be there at least till the end of his contract, and now that's not going to happen. And of course, you have to remember, as I mentioned, he has a prickly relationship with Renault. Like, he's criticised their engines in the past, so that may not be that appealing to him. But we'll have to see. So, to conclude, this is not an ideal situation at all for Red Bull. And of course, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of emergency meetings going on in Milton Keynes right now about what to do for the future, what direction to go in. My personal opinion is that they should try to make their own engine. I mean, that way they keep their works team status, which I'm pretty sure that they won't want to lose, and they won't have to rely on a customer supplier, which has not really been good for them in the past. And also, as I mentioned earlier, there is a company with many employees that are going to be left out of a job. Their whole F1 engine department is going to be looking for a new job, and also their assets as well, and also don't forget, as I said, Red Bull have a lot of money, so a logical option could be to purchase basically the Honda Formula 1 engine company, and then develop the engine from there. That could be a potential option for them. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of discussions going on, and I personally think it's most likely that they are going to return to Renault engines. So that is it. A shock announcement. I was not expecting to be making a video like this today, but thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you for the next video. If not, we'll see you for the next live stream. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/raceweek_show. and be sure to subscribe to be following the RaceWeek site at raceweekblog.com. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.